let's talk about something that's hiding in plain sight. A massive surveillance network of cameras that is quietly, and I mean quietly, spread all across the country. And it's constantly watching. Seriously, think about it. Your daily commute, that trip to the grocery store, just driving over to a friend's house. Have you ever stopped to wonder who or what might be logging that trip? Yeah, I'm gonna bet it's way more than you realize, because we're not just talking about a police officer sitting on the corner anymore. The scale of automated surveillance in America has hit a level that is, frankly, pretty staggering. How staggering? Well, as of 2025, there are nearly 90,000 of these cameras, all from a company called Flock Safety, operating in over 5,000 communities. That is a gigantic, interconnected system, tracking cars across 49 states. So what exactly is this technology? Let's break down how this unblinking network actually works. Okay, so at its heart, the system uses something called an automated license plate reader, or ALPR for short. You can just think of it as a really smart, really fast camera. Its main job is to read, identify, and log every single license plate that passes by it. But here's the thing. These cameras capture so much more than just your plate number. They're logging your car's make, its model, its color. They can even pick up things like a roof rack or a bumper sticker. And all of that data, along with the precise time and location, gets uploaded to this massive national database that thousands of police departments can search anytime they want. So you might be asking, how did this network get so big so fast? Well, the cameras are solar-powered and they connect wirelessly to the cloud. That means they can be put up almost anywhere in less than 30 minutes. No big construction crews, no digging up roads. That ease is exactly why it's spread like wildfire. Now, this is where things get really tricky, legally speaking. For a long time, the courts have basically said, hey, your license plate is out in public, so you can't expect it to be private. But that was before a company could build a database that tracks your every move. A more recent Supreme Court case, Carpenter v. United States, kind of changed the game. It suggested that this kind of long-term mass data collection, well, it's different. It shows how the law is really struggling to keep up with technology. Okay, so we know how it works. Now let's talk about how this kind of surveillance bumps up against one of our most fundamental rights, the freedom to speak your mind and gather with others, to protest. This quote from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, or EFF, just hits the nail on the head. The right to protest is a cornerstone of a free society, right? But what happens when simply exercising that right means you automatically get logged in a police database? And look, this isn't some what-if scenario. It's actually happening. The EFF dug into 12 million searches made in the Flock system and found hundreds that were specifically targeting protests. And get this, in a lot of those cases, the reason the police gave for doing the search? Just one word: protest. We've seen it in action. During those huge No Kings protests in 2025, police in Washington, Texas, and Arizona all used the network to run these broad searches for cars anywhere near the demonstrations. They were effectively monitoring everyone in the area. So beyond monitoring protests, there's another risk, one that's a lot more personal. What happens when you give thousands and thousands of people access to such a powerful tool? Well, sometimes it gets abused. And let's be crystal clear about this. This is not a theoretical problem. We have the receipts. There are documented real-world cases of law enforcement officers using their access to this data for personal and sometimes very illegal reasons. This question was asked after a police chief in Georgia was arrested. Why? For using the Flock system to stalk his ex-wife. He was sitting in Georgia, accessing data from cameras thousands of miles away in California. It raises a huge point. If a police chief can do it, who's watching the watchers? And his case wasn't a one-off thing. I mean, just look at this table. We have officers using ALPR access for stalking in Wisconsin and Kansas, and even for corporate espionage in another case in Georgia. It's a pattern, and it makes it really clear that without some serious, ironclad oversight, this system is wide open to abuse. But here's where the story starts to turn a little bit. The good news is, as more people are becoming aware of these issues, they are starting to push back. So let's see how states and local communities are responding. You can see some real momentum building here. In 2025, you've got 3 states that pass new laws. Then, in 2026, Washington State Senate passes this landmark bill. And cities like Mountain View, California, just canceled their contracts completely over privacy concerns. Now, it's a complicated fight. Just look at Denver, where the city council voted to end it, but the mayor renewed it anyway. But the fight is definitely happening. But this really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? While 12 states have taken some steps to regulate this tech, that leaves a whopping 38 states, the vast majority, with no specific laws on the books to protect people's privacy from this kind of mass data collection. There's a huge gap. Let's zoom in on that Washington bill for a second, because it's a great model for what strong regulation could actually look like. They're trying to block federal agencies from getting the data. They want to limit data storage to just 21 days. And they're even trying to ban cameras from being placed near sensitive locations like schools, hospitals, or places of worship. So when you put all of this together, it brings us to a really fundamental choice. This isn't just about a specific technology anymore. It's about the kind of society we all want to live in. There's this incredible quote from Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, written nearly a century ago, but wow, it is more relevant today than ever. He called the right to be let alone, the right to privacy, the most comprehensive of rights, and that is the very right that's being challenged right now. And I think this is the key takeaway. We have to reject this false choice between having safety and having privacy. A healthy democracy needs both. Going to a protest or just living your life shouldn't automatically make you a data point in a permanent record. True safety exists with freedom, not at its expense. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. At what point does a technology that was created to solve one problem, crime, turn into a tool that creates a much bigger one, the slow erosion of our personal freedom? It's a line that we as a society are drawing right now.